Indie developers might spend years finishing their games this way. Indie game development is really a job for a jack of all trades. But even if you focus on a single aspect, like game design, there's still many things to track. Sometimes we turn a blind eye to it, hoping that the problem will go away. You feel it, right? Mistakes. In this video, I will talk only about board games. But if you want to learn more about video gaming development, please let me know in the comments below. Even though I'm taking the first steps in video game design, I would be happy to share what I've learned so far. Anyways, discussing board games, we need to understand the difference between designers and developers. A game designer conceptualizes the game, giving it a mechanical core that is unlikely to disappear at any stage of development. This concept will be used by developers and marketing specialists who might change the suggested theme of the game but will keep its playable core, as it would serve as a hook. The hook might be embraced further or kept as it is, but to make the game playable, you still need to balance it and optimize mechanisms, get rid of some offered in early stages of development or introduce some new ones. All this work is done by developers. In the board gaming industry, a game designer and a developer are often the same person. Even when they are not, they usually work as a team. The game designer typically enjoys more creative freedom, while the developers navigate the demands of the editorial board and marketing department. However, as the project progresses, developers tend to gain more control. When a game is signed by a publisher, the game designer's influence diminishes, and only a few icons in the industry can significantly impact the game's transformation into a marketable product. That also explains why so many game designers are originally not people from the industry, but just people with great ideas. These ideas are turned into a finished game by developers. So I would like to discuss the nightmare of a developer, as it is a person who has to work with something, but this something is usually not enough to be called a game yet. Also, they need to make it work as a game, taking into account all the requests without losing the hook. The worst thing that might happen is a ticking bomb problem, a decision made long ago as a quick fix that now ruins everything. The fix is now not quick at all and can even result in a full redesign of huge parts of the game. And the worst thing about it is that it happens all the time. But how might this be possible if developers know about it and it's such a common issue? Well, first of all, quick fixes are needed. Making games involves playtests. They can be internal and almost never require a full build, but designing a game with only having hypothetical information about players' behavior is never a good option. So even separate mechanisms can be playtested. But let's say you want to test the turn flow of your deck building game. You can do that without having a perfect balance of all cards. A major part of these cards would be crap, to be honest. You need to test several hypotheses of a turn, not the cards. So you make a mode, include ugly templates of the cards and announce that all card effects will be changed later. You will still receive some feedback about them. Will you have enough strength not to use it? Maybe some of this feedback will be great, and you will keep it in mind when designing the deck. You see, this is how work on your turn impacts the design of card effects. This story is real and is taken from the development of our newest board game called Siclen Valley, and such situations are all over the industry. Indie developers might spend years finishing their games this way. Actually, this is what we've been doing. At least development in big companies is dictated by budgets. However, it does not mean that such limits never ruin projects, as usually these companies release a bunch of games a year and they don't care about each separate project as much as we do. Okay, everything is bad. How to avoid that? I cannot guarantee it is possible to avoid a ticking bomb problem entirely, but this is what I implement in my work and what we use in our studio. Quick fixes is not an option for the hook. If you add not an elegant temporary solution to the game core, there is a high chance you would have to redesign the whole game from scratch later. You don't want to have it. Trust me. Once we had to redesign the game entirely after 2 years of development. This is the game where the idea of an unpredictable and fully customizable narrative journey was added to the core with strategic contract completion. These two things just couldn't work together, and that was obvious, but being biased and wishing to expand the lore of the universe that we created for the game, we chose the wrong vector and were building on top of it more and more and more. At some point we made an external playtest and were shocked by how blind we'd been all this time. We removed the narrative elements and focused on initial concept, strategically fulfilled contracts. Keep the list of all quick fixes and don't even consider them real solutions. Potential ticking bombs must go right after the playtests, once their function is completed. If you want to keep them, almost always it's a bad idea, or playtest them separately. In general, don't be afraid of getting rid of things that don't work. Prioritize elegance. In the newest version of Siclen Valley, we had a really cool mechanism for losing a fight. You could receive damage at your own discretion. The first option was to add a miss card to your deck. The second was to lower the oxygen level in the mask, which in our game serves as an action point counter. But these potential action points were not just lost, but taken from your tableau and put on the map, so you could return them by reaching several areas around you. There were also other rules where other players could return these points to you and could be awarded for that. It all looked nice and played well, but it felt too much for the scale of the game. So we killed the whole mechanism and kept only one way of receiving damage, through miss cards. If in later stages you see something that looks counterintuitive, people will almost always notice it too, and you will have to deal with this. I understand how hard it can be to redesign and rebalance some parts of the game, but you cannot trick your audience here. People feel too well when the design is counterintuitive. Think twice before implementing really weak decisions, even on a temporary basis. If you know that you would have to remove it later anyway, do you really want to add it now? Is it worth the risk? Sometimes the answer is yes, but at least you have to ask yourself first. Without proper reflection, I would not recommend it. To be honest, how is it even possible to design a game without a proper reflection? You got this, I'm sure. Well, this is it, all the major tips I can give based on over 4 years of board game development. Do you have any thoughts or hacks? Share them in the comments. By the way, most of the footage in this video represents projects of our studio, Cosmic Chains or our newest game, Siclen Valley. Join our Discord community and consider subscribing to this channel. Let's design together. Nos vemos, bis bald, bye bye!